Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Ready to get flexible? Ready to stretch? Hope everyone had a good night. I am going to, if you guys have some sort of a ball, that would be awesome. It can be a tennis ball. Obviously, this is not a tennis ball. It can be a lacrosse ball, something of this size or tennis ball size. Even a baseball can work. That's a little hard, so it's not ideal. Tennis ball has some give, but then it's kind of like a little too much. When I mentioned the duct taping two together, so this is a tennis ball, two tennis balls rather, that are duct taped with my purple duct tape together. So there's that. Okay. We are going to start with the feet today. Last time we started at the hands and fingers. We're going to start at the feet today. So the feet are our foundation for everything, right? It's our connection with the ground. But interestingly enough, we sometimes forget to give our feet some love. So just remember, we spend a lot of time on our feet. Having that ground connection is huge. I want to do a little experiment. So before we do some stretching and rolling of the ball on the feet, I want you guys to just do an air squat or a body weight squat. So have your feet hip width, hip distance apart. Toes can just be pointing forward. And this isn't crazy form. I just want you to try to feel what your feet feel like and just do some squats and just feel your feet and how they are connecting to the ground. So just do several squats. Try to feel that out. How do my feet feel against the ground? Do I feel more of my toes? Do I feel more of my heels? You know, what's happening there? Okay. Now we're going to do some stretching of the feet, and we're going to use whatever ball you have. Hopefully you have something that you can use, and we're going to step on that and loosen up our feet. So the first stretch we're going to do with the feet, we're going to come down, and your flexibility here might vary, but have your knees on the ground, be on your toes so that my foot is arched kind of back, and just kind of sit back on to your feet and let the bottom of your feet stretch. If this hurts your knees, we're gonna also do this against the wall, but if it hurts your knees too much, maybe come in and out of it. We're just trying to get a stretch on the bottom of these muscles of the feet. So I apologize if it hurts your knees. Just try to do what you can. If you have something soft underneath you, you know that will help a little bit as far as versus being on a hard ground. But we're just trying to get the bottom of these feet stretched here. We are going to take this to the wall. It's going to be similar to a calf stretch, but we'll take it to the wall. So just feel that the bottom of your feet are stretching. And again, when we're stretching, it's about holding things, feel that stretch, breathing into it. Sending breath to your body often helps to deepen the stretch as well. I also feel some in the top of my feet, even though that position is flexed. Let's come up. Let's take this to the wall now. I know the wall might be a little far away, but similar to how I'm sure a lot of you guys have done a calf stretch on the wall, but now I'm focusing more on my foot. So my foot is on the wall. I'll use a little whiteboard as a fake wall for a sec, because it's a little bit closer. So I'm placing my toes or the ball of my foot against the wall and then kind of leaning forward into it so I don't feel as much calf. We're focusing more on the foot here. Yeah, I kind of like my makeshift wall. Let me bring this stool over here. This works because it's a little bit closer. And also, remind me to rewrite this over bigger, right? Okay, so balls of the feet against the wall. Knee, I like the knee to have a soft bend. If you prefer it locked, that's okay. Not my total favorite, but I like the knee to have a soft bend, so it's just soft. And feel, again, that stretch in the bottom of your feet. So just another way to stretch out those feet. We're going to hold this. Most stretches, it's ideal to hold for at least a minute. If you have up to 2 minutes, that's cool too. I'm not going to spend that much time here, but I am going to try to have you guys get enough time where you get the benefit versus rushing through things. Let's switch feet here. When we were kneeling, obviously we're doing both at the same time. So if you're against the wall, you're kind of pushing into that wall. You're very close to the wall. Like, hey wall, nice to see you. So feel the stretch in the bottom of the feet. You may feel differences between either side, and that's totally normal. One side might be tighter, totally normal. Pretty much nothing, and then you could never say all or nothing, but pretty much I almost never feel symmetrical. And there's not much in life that is truly, as far as the body, that is truly symmetrical. Even they've done like these crazy studies on faces and where it like gets analyzed, and even there, like almost nothing is symmetrical. So feel the bottom of those feet stretching. Okay, we're gonna go to our ball now. Hopefully you have one. Is that annoyingly in the way? I think that's okay. Okay, so your ball, that's about, a tennis ball is the easiest thing that most people have at home. That's why we talked about that. So on the ground, can you see feet here? On the ground, pick a foot. I'm gonna start with it underneath my toes, and I'm gonna act like I'm grabbing the ball with my toes. And at the same time, I'm pressing downward. If you don't have a ball, what can you use? I'm not sure, get creative. Maybe an apple? Is that lame? You probably won't want to eat the apple after that. I'm trying to see what else might be around. Just trying to get creative. Hopefully everyone had time to find the ball. So once I've grabbed it and pressed down with my toes, now I'm going to roll it just all along the bottom of my foot. And you'll be surprised. Like, it's crazy how much we neglect the feet. And we, meaning, I did it for a long time too. When I was at, I think it was the fitness conference that I usually go to annually, 2 years ago, several lecturers had us start with rolling out the feet. And I'm like I love foam rolling. Most of my clients, I teach them how to foam roll, and they know, to come in, before our session, they come in and start foam rolling, and that's great, and then I'll just, and I always try to give more stretches as we go, but they get into a foam rolling routine. And so I love foam rolling, and I'm like, why was I neglecting my feet? Like that is our connection with the ground. For me, I always feel it most like on the inside of my feet, where that arch is, like that's where I feel the tightest. But just press down as you're rolling all along the bottom of your feet, of your foot, switch feet. Remember, we're grabbing it first, kind of with our toes. That little like monkey foot grab. That's what it reminds me of too. The monkeys, how they have such, they can do so many things with their feet. But yeah, I was like, why was I neglecting the feet? And it makes a world of difference too. Also, I just got a crack in my foot. Also, when doing a lot of strength training, and I, learned this too from a lot of my mentors, you want to be barefoot when you're doing things like squats, deadlifts, again, because it's that connection with the ground. And I think I mentioned this before, like the sneakers that I like to wear have sort of like a big heel, and then they taper down towards the toes. So you're like completely losing that connection with the ground, and it totally translates into your strength training and what it can do to actually turn off your glutes. It's also the reason why high heels, they're really not good. So rolling the other foot, the bottom of the other foot. Okay, so now get rid of your ball, get it out of the way so you don't step on it and break yourself. And now we're going to go back to our squats. And again, let's pay attention to how our feet feel. And as we go down into that squat, does anything feel different from when we did them before we did the stretching and the rolling? To me, I can feel a massive difference. Like I feel like I'm much more connected with the ground. When I was squatting before, I could feel my arches really rising, and I'm gonna over exaggerate this. I could feel like my feet kind of going on the outside of on the outside of the foot as I was squatting. And now I feel like I'm staying, like I just have more of a connection to the ground, really. So I still feel that left knee keeps cracking. I still feel like my hips are tight, so I can feel that. But I have a lot of hip stuff for you guys today because that is a common theme. I felt the left foot go up a little bit on that one. So just try to start feeling these things in your body, because the more we can feel things, the more in tune. And then you'll know what your body needs that day. Because you could be like, oh, I feel this, that, or the other here. So let's do our finger from last week, our fingers 2 at a time, stretching these back. You can be like, okay, I know what I need more of today, because there's so many things to do. I mean, we could literally spend hours stretching every day. Almost no one, maybe now, but most of us, especially when we get back to real life, we're not going to have hours to stretch every day. I like to try to do 15 to 20 minutes every morning, and then the same amount at night. And then I'll throw in some, before my workout. I got to admit, sometimes I forget after my workout, but I am good about doing it at night. Other hand, the fingers. Because you can't, there's just so many things to do. You can't possibly spend 2 hours every morning and 2 hours every night doing all of this. So you'll learn to get tuned into your body and feel what your body needs. So that's where I want you guys to feel what was happening with your feet in those squats before and after we did the feet stretching and the feet ball rolling. Start being in tune with your body. It's great. Last set of 2 fingers here. Okay, what do I want to go to next? All right. We are going to use the wall again. Might be, let me move this camera forward a little bit. So last week we did our half kneeling hip flexor stretch, right? We're going to do a little modification on that. And we're going to use the wall for that. If you guys don't have a wall to use, no big deal. But, so I'm just going to refresh your memory. I'm going to show you from the side. So half kneeling, hip flexor stretch. We had the same arm overhead as the leg that was down. We were squeezing this glute because that gives a deeper stretch to the hip flexors in the front. And then we're going through our 3 planes of motion, forward, side to side, and around. We're going to do very similar to the wall. So I'm going to back up. If you have a wall, I would also get something to put under your knee if you're on a very hard surface, even just like a towel or something. So what we're going to do with coming up against the wall is I'm still half kneeling. And this might take some ankle flexibility too. Now I have the ball of my foot, so I am like this on the wall. I have the ball of my foot on the wall. That feels better. If you have less ankle flexibility, if you have more, you can put the top of your foot on the wall. Similarly, you can grab the back of your foot like I am here, and you can simulate if you don't have a wall handy to use. But it's nice to kind of use that wall if you have one. I'm going to put the top of my foot on the wall. And as you get ankle flexibility is a factor here too, but as you get a little more flexible, when you can have that I'm going to come sideways to you again. If you can be super close to the wall and basically have that heel right against your butt, you'll feel a big stretch in your quads as well, but that's getting a deep stretch in that hip flexor. Here, I'm going to do the same thing. And make sure you're not too narrow here. This is cool if you want to challenge your balance in your core, but we're releasing today. We're recovering today. So make sure that this foot is in the same orientation as it would be hip width if we're standing, if that makes sense. That was a very long-winded way to say that. Okay, so the knee that's down, that same side arm is going overhead. And again, if it's too deep, then you would come further away. So whatever your range is totally fine. Just like how Bas talks about when he does his stretching in the morning, his high kick stretching. Whatever your range is, go with it. Don't push it. It's not worth it to push it. And from here, we're going to still go into those 3 planes of motion. So the first is we're going to go left to right. If you can also add in that glute squeeze, it might be a little trickier here, but if you can add in the glute squeeze on the same side, the knee that's down, add that in. So we're going to come side to side. Actually, I kind of mixed up the order I usually do, but that part doesn't matter. This is called the frontal plane, left and right. Now we're going to come just kind of forward and back. And what I'm feeling here is that I'm putting more weight on the front leg and then coming back. So my whole body, I'm not bending at the waist, my whole body is kind of coming forward and back. And we're just putting these hip flexors through these ranges of motion that are normal ranges of motion that we go through in everyday life. Now bring this arm to like half goalpost arms, and now I'm rotating around to get the transverse plane. All right, I think that's enough time on that side. I usually do window washer the leg down, and let's switch sides. I'm going to show you if you don't have a wall. So those of you that have a wall, cool, go with that. If you don't, come here. So now we're on the other side. Now I'm going to the left side of the hip flexors. Let's see how good my balance is today. Maybe. Whoa. Okay. So whatever your flexibility is here, if it's here, that's fine. If it's here, that's fine. If it's here, you'll feel a little bit deeper. And if you can, add in that glute squeeze, the same side, except now I can't put this arm overhead, can I? So if I switch to the other hand, woo, balance today. Now I can put the same side arm overhead. Let's go through those 3 planes of motion. Let's go front to back first. Front to back. So this is definitely more challenging without the wall. You're holding yourself. Front to back. And now side to side. I'm going to come facing you so you can kind of see these planes of motion. Also shoulder flexibility, which we haven't gotten to shoulder stuff yet. That plays a little bit of a role too. So now I'm going to come side to side. Ooh, that side stretch feels good. I'm losing my balance. So, see, a balance isn't perfect either all the time. Side to side. Oh, that side stretch feels good. Whoa, almost lost it again there. And rotate around. Cracking up at my balance today. Okay, so that's a variation on the half kneeling hip flexor stretch, but from last week, remember too, just staying here and doing everything in this regard is totally fine too. All right, now I want you to come down to sitting on the ground. We're going to start getting into more hip stuff, more outsides of the hip and back of the hip. So I'm actually going to move this guy out of the way for a sec. And saw this stick. You know, there's of course a whole bunch of funny memes going around now, but this one, I have to repost it on my thing. It's really funny. When I got up this morning, I was, because it made me laugh so much because I was just thinking the same thing. It's this guy, and he looks all, it'll be better when I repost it. He just looks like disheveled, like he looks totally confused, and he's holding a sign, and it says, "What F apostrophe ing, what effing day is it today?" It's like, yeah, that's, I feel you, buddy. Okay, so I have my legs I just call this a figure four. So one knee is bent, my foot is on the inside of my thigh. And again, if you have any sort of knee issues, if your foot is down here, that's fine. Wherever the distance is that your foot is on the inside of your opposite leg, totally fine. No judgment, as long as you guys didn't judge me when I was losing my balance earlier. So from here, you're gonna feel a lot of hamstring stretch as well. Just gently reach towards the foot of the leg that is straight. And if you start out here on the calf, that's fine. If you're at the ankle, that's fine. If you're at the foot, cool. And what I'm trying to think about, I'm gonna turn sideways to you guys. I would like my back to stay flat, so I'm really keeping that elongation, and I'm staying tall in my back. You can reach further, or in general, most people can reach further if they round their back. And rounding my back, collapsing down the vertebrae isn't quite as ideal as staying tall in the back. So reach as far as you can while you're staying tall, here, or here, or here. But try to stay tall in that posture. And if you need to come in and out of it, that's fine too. Always go at your own pace. We're not forcing things. We're just trying to stay tall. Feel a lot in the back of your hamstrings and also glutes. But let's just hold that. If you like to do more dynamic stretching, totally fine. I kind of mix up the two when I'm doing my own stretching. Sometimes I'll come in and out of it. Sometimes I'll hold it. Sometimes I'll do small little bounces, nothing too crazy. We're stretching, we're recovering. I don't want anything, I don't want to hurt anything. I want to be able to still do all of my stuff. So the last thing I want to do is pull something while I'm stretching. Let's switch sides here. I want to face you. And where your foot can go on the opposite leg, it might be different from one side to the other. You might be like, oh, on one side I was at the level of my knee, but here, this knee can bend further, so it's more on the inside of my thigh. Either way, just go to what feels like where you feel a good stretch. That's where you should be. Hold that. Feel this hamstring. My right hamstring is always, almost always, tighter than my left. For whatever reason. So each day you'll just pick stretches that you feel your body needs as you get more in tune with feeling your body and what it needs for today. And then, of course, we still take you through the stretches that Bas likes to do that has worked for him for years. So if it works, stick with it. Okay, let's come out of that. Now, bring your feet together. So with Bas and I, how he likes to have the feet further away. Let's do a little variation where we just bring them as close as possible. And you can use your elbows to press down on your thighs and just get that. We're getting the outside of the hip, we're getting the inside of the leg. Just get that. And same thing here. I'm going to turn sideways to you. Same thing here. I'm just going to stay upright, but I want my back to stay nice. I want to stay nice and tall. So I'm going to start here. So while I'm sitting here holding this, I'm not sitting here. I'm not sitting with my bad posture. I'm sitting tall, pressing down with my elbows. And if you want to lean forward a little bit to add a little bit to that, let's try to keep our back flat for now. And I'm not saying you never should round your back. Nothing is always or never. I just want to be conscious of, if I want my back flat and I want to be tall, make sure I know what my back is doing. If I want to round, cool, you'll feel a stretch there too. So just know and feel the difference. Being able to feel your body versus, like, say, always looking in a mirror. Being able to feel is great, so you know exactly what's happening. Just like when we did the squatting and trying to feel the feet on the ground. I couldn't really see, well, I mean, I guess I could see a little bit of it, but it was more feeling, like, did my feet feel more connected to the ground? Okay, let's come out of that. Now, let's come back to standing. We're going to get a little bit of this tiny muscle on the side of the hip called the tensor fasciae lata. You might have heard TFL thrown around. Cross our feet. So you guys have probably seen and done, even back in grade school, where you cross your feet and bend over. Let's make this a little more active, meaning I want to feel this whole fascial line. Oh, that sounds so technical, doesn't it? I want to feel the whole, let's just say our whole body's connected by this highway of fascia. Let's reach up. So a tall reach up as high as you can, and then come down and come kind of to the inside foot, to the foot that's crossed over in front. Reach towards the inside of that foot. Let's inhale, come up. Make yourself as tall as you can. Exhale, come down, reaching to the inside of that foot. You'll feel a lot of different things opening up here. The hamstrings hopefully are a little loose from the one that we just did sitting on the ground. A little looser, but I still feel hamstring. I feel it different on either leg. I feel more hamstring personally on the leg that's in front. You might feel more on the other leg. Both answers are right. Whatever you feel. Just notice that. Reach down to the inside of that foot. Let's do one more of these. Reach up. So this is more dynamic because we're moving. Reach down to the inside of that foot. Come up. Switch feet. And this TFL notoriously can be a little bit tricky to stretch. Reach up, down, inside of the front foot. Inhale up. Exhale down, inside of the front foot. Let's do 3 more of these. Inhale up. Exhale down. Two more. Inhale up. Exhale down. Last one. Inhale up. Exhale down. Okay, uncross there. Shake those legs out. Okay, now I want to do a down dog to a runner's lunge. Down dog, I'm going to come sideways to face you guys. Down dog is, the deal from yoga, right? Is it from yoga? I believe, maybe where it first started. Don't quote me on that, not sure. So with down dog, we're generally here. Hips are high. Feel like you're pulling your core up, and then bring one foot forward to a runner's lunge. So we all know this position. This is how runners start, right? So hence the name runner's lunge. Bring the foot back, down dog, pull your core in, let your head hang. So neck should be nice and soft here. And now come through, bring the other leg up. You might feel differences on which side might be a little tighter. And just Relax into that stretch. Come back to your down dog. Yoga people, you might say I'm doing something wrong with my down dog, and you might be right. I'm not saying I'm perfect at doing everything. I don't know the yoga world. I think yoga is great. It's a fantastic mind-body connection. I just haven't figured out where to put it in my normal daily schedule. And of course, right now, I can't really learn it. Come back to down dog. If your heels can be on the ground, you'll feel more in your calves. If they cannot, that's fine too. Have them wherever they can be. Other leg forward. Okay, let's go with that just for the sake of time. Another thing, actually, let me show you one more thing. One more thing you can add here. I'm going to come to face you. You can add, let me see what time I'm at. Okay, halfway. Cool. One other thing you can add here are opening up, raising an arm, opening up chest. This feels really good too on the back. So maybe let's do one of these on either side. Let's come back. Let's bring the other leg forward and open up. That feels really good on the back. Okay, of course you can do more of those. Now let's come into a deep side lunge. Again, still focusing on the hips here because hips, we need so much of that for our kicks. I'm gonna come out to either side and let's come nice and deep into this side lunge. This foot can either be flat or it can be on the side of the foot, either way. This foot, where I'm leaning towards, it probably feels best for most people to have this foot up, especially depending on ankle flexibility. If eventually, after things warm up, if you can get this ankle on the ground, this will increase the flexibility of this ankle. You do sit back a little bit more, so you will feel a little bit of a counterbalance that needs to happen here. Let's start with the heel raised. Come a little sideways. Let's start with the heel raised because that probably feels best for most people. Is that camera? Hopefully. There's like three different setups. So Bas's thing, that he has streaming, and then I have my Instagram, but the Instagram I think is a little high. I should angle that down a little bit. And then I have my iPad just so I can save it as a regular video. If you can, use your hands if need be. If you want to challenge yourself with your strength a little bit, just reach over to the other side. My right ankle, I always have, move back a little bit. Actually, I'll face you guys. Right ankle, I always have an issue where it feels significantly tighter than the left. And my physical therapist taught me how to release the subtalar joint with the strap and stuff. But I can totally feel a difference. So feel if you guys feel any difference too. There's like a marked difference in my ankles. I can push it down to the ground, but it's a challenge until I get that sucker released because I have not done that yet this morning. So, and I can just totally feel the difference. No injury or anything, but just it feels a lot tighter. So just feel those little differences in your body. If when life is back to normal, if you ever have the opportunity to work with a good physical therapist, I would highly recommend it. There, like I told you, my posture, my walk, like there was so much stuff that was so off. It was crazy, and I had no idea. All I knew was I ended up with fingertip numbness that was consistent that was happening all throughout the day. Okay, push back up to start. Stay down here. Let's come into, if you can, a deep squat. If both of your heels cannot be on the ground and you're here, that's fine. You're still getting that stretch on the bottom of the feet like we did earlier. In this deep squat, if you can use those elbows to push out, better. Come from the side. Heels can either be up or down, and use those elbows to push out. Push those knees out. I can feel the difference in my right ankle. That is tight. And what you'll see, if ankles don't have as much flexibility, like my right doesn't have as much as my left, my right toes totally want to turn out to the side. And that's a compensation for lack of ankle flexibility or mobility. I watched this super cool webinar, well, I thought it was super cool, webinar from my my fitness called Idea Fitness, and it was talking about glute strength from the feet, because I mean everything's connected. So like to me, like I love this. I'm a nerd at heart, total nerd, and so it was really, really cool. Okay, all right, so let's stand up. This is one that we actually do a lot in class too for kicks. I just call them kind of hip circles. Some of the fitness world calls them hurdles. I like to keep my arms and hands in my fighting stance because I'm usually doing this in preparation for class. So I'm circling the knees. So we're acting like we're hurdling the leg over something. Coming from inside out, and then we'll go the opposite direction. And sometimes when I'm teaching class, I'll have people stay in their fighting stance while they're doing this, or you can stay neutral. Either way, neutral meaning feet in the same line. Either way, just try to get a big range of motion on these circles. Your hands don't have to be here. I'm just very used to having them here. And it gets them out of the way too. So that works. Now, let's switch directions, and we're coming from the outside in. So these hip circles, really good for loosening up your hips before you start kicking. As you stay consistent with these hip flexibility things, hip opening things, you should find that your higher kicks get better and better. Obviously, low kicks too, but for a long time for me, my head kicks were ridiculously horrible. So the fact that I can get my leg up there more consistently now, for the past, year and a half, 2 years, is very cool. Although I will say, if I don't warm up and stretch out enough before class, I definitely can see a difference. It's like, oh, my leg doesn't quite want to go up there yet. So those hip circles are really good. Now we're going to do another more active one. Glute bridges or hip thrusters, really good to get the glutes moving and working. Also for our back, we are still going to do some back stuff and shoulder stuff. So a glute bridge or a hip thruster. Hold on, let me fix one thing. Just turn this down a little bit. Angle. Okay. So very good functional movement for all of us, for everyone, is a glute bridge or hip thruster. Goes by 2 different names. I like to have my feet, or I was taught also to have my feet not too far away from my butt. And Bas talks about this. I know that he cannot do too much ground fighting, but it translates to ground fighting because you have more power. If your heels are not far away from your butt, you can bridge up, you can buck an opponent more powerfully than if your feet are further away. Does that make sense? You can feel you have less range of motion, and therefore you can generate less power if your feet are further away from your butt versus if they're closer. You can just feel that out. if you want to, just feel the difference. Don't go explosively like we would be doing if we were ground fighting, because we're recovering today. But that's another reason I kind of have my feet about a hand's distance away from my butt. This also is a common thing in yoga and Pilates. Let's first start out nice and gently, and as we're raising our hips up, try to feel that your back is moving like one vertebrae at a time. Really we want the back to move not as one solid unit, because we should have a lot of motion that comes from our thoracic spine, which is kind of like the main middle part of our spine. Feel like you're coming down one section at a time, and the way that would look different, let me see if I can do it, is versus everything's just coming up at once. So my back is staying super flat and it's just coming up at once. If you can, try to drop from here, then here, then here, then here, then here, 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 here. That's what I mean. And Pilates talks a lot about that. And then the opposite, when you raise up, start here, and here, 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 come up to full bridge. So let's do a couple more of these glute bridges or hip thrust, same name. One more. Now let's take and let's cross one ankle over one knee, figure 4. And this can be an exercise as well as like a dynamic stretch. So now we're on one leg. If you want, you can move that foot, the planted foot, a little closer to midline. You might feel a little more stable. And triceps can be in the ground to help stabilize you as well. And from here, now we're just doing one side. And really focus on that glute. Also, we're focusing on the back, and we want the back to try to come up one vertebrae at a time, but also focusing on that glute. Remember we talked about the half kneeling hip flexor stretch? If you squeeze your glute, it gives your hip flexor a deeper stretch. So now we're working the glute, and that also is still stretching the hip flexor. Kind of cool how that works, isn't it? But this can also be, imagine if you did a lot of reps of these, this can also be a really cool body weight exercise too. Let's switch legs. So there are definitely, some things that can go from stretching to exercise. And also when you're thinking about exercising, especially now where you can't, go to the gym or whatever, switch up the body positions that you're exercising in. And I'll give you an example. If we're doing, say, an overhead press for shoulders, you can do that standing, you can do that sitting, which makes it harder because you have less joints underneath you stabilizing you. You can do that kneeling. That's one of my favorite variations to do that with. Makes it even harder. So try to give your body variation when you're doing things, in both stretching and in exercising. Okay, let's stop there with those. So now you should feel a little bit like your glutes were working in that, because of course they were. All right, now let's do one last hip one is pigeon. I'm pretty sure we did pigeon last week. And yes, I'm pretty sure we did. So now that we've gotten some nice hip opening stuff done, let's see if we feel a little bit looser for pigeon. So with pigeon, one leg in front of us is going to be sort of at a 90-degree angle. And then also, if the 90-degree angle is if you're a little too tight on the back of the leg or the side of the hip, this foot can be closer in towards your body, and that's when you'll feel that it's not quite as tight. Come up the back of the leg. You're kind of on the front of that knee, basically. But if you want a deeper stretch, move that heel out so your leg in front is more at a 90-degree. Hopefully you guys can see that. Pigeon is a pretty common thing. It just is. It can be tough. It's a great stretch, but it's tough. I mean, I can totally feel how tight I am. And if I just go and feel that muscle, it kind of feels a little bit like a rock, and it shouldn't feel like that. But, but I'll keep doing what I can to keep things recovered and stretched out. I do really miss being able to use the sauna at the gym right now. That is something I wish I had a sauna at home, but I don't. So also while you're here, I like to play with driving my torso down different directions. Oh, this one is so tight coming here. I like to try to keep my back flat here versus rounding. When I get to the inside, oh, that's so tight. Okay, let's switch legs. And take notice if you feel difference on either side. And I will let you know what I feel. Okay, come down into that 90 first. There's, different ways you can get into it. And then I come up on the back leg or on the top of that knee. They're both really tight. And if your knee is rising up as you're trying to come into this, I would recommend bringing the heel closer to your body. You can feel like there, like here, I can sit here all day. It still feels like a stretch, but it's not quite as intense, I guess, is one word I can use for it, as if I bring my heel further up and get the leg more to 90. So yeah, here is this is rough. Drive my torso in different directions. And what I'm not doing a lot of while I'm doing this, because I'm talking, is breathing. But the more deep breathing you guys can do, especially when something is really tight, like how this is for me, send breath to it. Just deep breathe, and that will allow the stretch, generally allow you to get a little bit deeper. So I'm gonna do a little bit of breathing. Feels a little bit better. Okay. To me, that's like the mothership of hip stretches is Pigeon. All right, let's move on a little bit to shoulders. Shoulders, as you guys already know, as we talked about, shoulders, we should have a lot of range of motion in our shoulders too. Hips, shoulders, and thoracic spine are the big movers in the body. So those three areas should have a lot of movement, a lot of motion, move in lots of different planes of motion. Let's come across, let's do a posterior or backside of the body shoulder stretch. I'm trying here to keep my shoulder away from my chin or my ears. I'm trying to have it down and just gently pull. So I'm getting the back of my shoulder. I'm just maintaining good posture here. Pulling gently, but enough so that I can feel the stretch. And then breathing into that. Let's switch sides. I'm going to need to move a little bit faster on these ones. Arms out to the side, like a scarecrow, and taking one shoulder at a time, because it just so that you don't go as far as if you're doing both shoulders at the same time. So one shoulder at a time. Rotate your shoulder as far forward as you can. Hand should end up upside down, and then bring it all the way back. Hand should end up palm side up. So this is trying to take our shoulder as far through, this is called internal rotation. It's called external rotation. So see if you can if the palm of your hand can go from face up to face down, see if you have that full range. And your body can move with it. I don't have to try to stand as still as I can. Allow your body to move with it. Just want to see what that full range of motion of the shoulders is. And I get little, how should I describe it? I have crunching, and that's like tendons and ligaments just passing over each other, probably combined with a little bit of tightness too. But if you have that, as long as it doesn't hurt, that's okay. I mean, I've had that for as long as I can remember. It just feels, and if I put my hand here, I can feel it. Just feels like it's crunching, and that's just tendons and ligaments going across the bones. So full range of motion here. Just get these shoulders moving. Now let's do one kneeling. We're going to, similar thing, I'm just going to go in a kind of a different plane. Let's make a fist in the hand that's not moving. This is just kind of to help give me some stabilization, basically. Actually, let's make them both fists. But I'm making a strong fist here. I'm taking one shoulder, one arm. I'm going to use my right arm first, and just kind of try to come along in front of me. Bring all the way around the back. You will feel that the palm of your fist turns as you're coming all the way through. Similar thing, just range of motion. And then start behind you. Allow the hand, the palm, to rotate and in front of you. Let's just do one more for the sake of time. This is actually called a controlled articular rotation. Articular just means joint, like the shoulder joint, which is actually a false joint. Let's switch sides. Now this arm is going to be very stable while I'm moving the other one. All the way around, circle that all the way around. And again, your body can move here a little bit. And you can make this very, what's the word I'm looking for? You can make this much more intense. You can squeeze your glutes, brace your core, and make this a really cool kind of recovery type exercise. We're doing it a little more mellow, where I'm not creating all that energy in my body. But it's fun to do, where you're making this very intentional. And I talk a lot about that with clients, about being intentional about what you're doing, being intentional about your carries. Speaking of the shoulders, when you're carrying things, shoulders are back. So if you're carrying something heavy, of course that is an exercise too, a farmer's carry. If you're carrying, heavy bag of groceries, bag of bricks, make that you're carrying intentionally, not carrying here, nice and intentional with that. All right, door frame openers are one that I love and I like people to do every day, and I do them every day. I don't have a door frame here, but we talked about these last week. If you have your arm, I'm going to try to use handy dandy dry erase board. Come here. So if this is my door frame, if I were standing up, let's make my door frame taller. I'm putting my forearm or hand or here can be any variety positions. I'm using that door frame to press against, opening up my pecs. This, I feel, is very important for everyone to do every day. And I do it at least twice a day. I try to throw in 3. Some days I forget, of course. That's your door frame opener. I'm going to mimic the door frame on the other side. One thing I don't have in here. And again, this doesn't have to be a door frame. This can be anything. This can be while gas is pumping in the car with your gloves on, you're holding down here. So this can be, you can use lots of different things for this at different heights. Just opening up these pecs, this chest. Also, if you guys do ever have a chance to get a foam roller, so much that can be done with the foam roller. Trying not to show too much on the foam roller right now because, of course, I don't know how many people have one, but I love my foam rollers. This is another different one that I love by a company called Trigger Point. And then this one, super cool too, the IntelliRoll that has this this sort of raised area that your back can go in. Oh, I love this one for my back and my low back. So good. Okay, door frame openers. If anyone had a chance to duct tape the 2 tennis balls, some last stuff I wanted to show you was with your head and your neck. If you don't have this, some people might have a foam block, but I want to show you this real quick. So if you can, if you have a chance to make this, very inexpensive, get where you can see me, on the ground with these, start with it actually on your head, sort of like the center of your head, kind of where you would grab in a clinch. How we don't want to grab their neck because you can't control them. We want to grab higher up on the head in a clinch. That's kind of where we want to start with these 2 tennis balls duct taped together. Have that just sitting on that spot. Your duct tape tennis balls. Allow your neck to relax and just go through. And if you don't, just lay on the ground and just kind of feel, not totally ideal, but just kind of feel, go through the range of shaking your head, no, all the way to one end, no, and yes. It's weird. You would think that, oh, if you're trying to do something on the back of your head, on your skull, like how can that do anything? It actually can, over time, start releasing the vertebrae, the top vertebrae, the cervical vertebrae. You can move this down. I kind of inch it down and spend time shaking my head no, nodding my head yes, or reverse. I might have said those backwards. And I move the ball down, 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 get to my neck, do the same thing on the back of the neck. And the cool thing too is I've had this little setup since I started physical therapy, because my physical therapist told me to make these. You can also go all the way down your back with this, and it feels great. And it's portable, so you can travel with it. Granted, I have bought some more official yoga tune-up balls, and I love those yoga tune-up balls. But I mean, this still, it works. And if we have tennis balls laying around the house, and duct tape, then it really works. And you can come down along your spine with this, and it's like a massage. You can also hold it in one spot, especially if it feels tight, and then just kind of how we did, remember the 3 planes of motion for our hip flexor stretches? I'll support my head and neck and come kind of side to side, just rotating around to the left and the right. Oh, like this still, for something so inexpensive, it works and it feels great. Going back to, almost time. Going back to the back and how we want the back to move with the glute bridges, how we want each vertebrae to move one at a time. I wanted to just briefly do cat and cow. I'm trying to remember if I did this last week. I'm not sure. I think maybe I did. So we want our hands beneath our shoulders, knees beneath our hips. Just try to feel that. Just try to feel that you're not out here. So try to feel that you're in that quadruped position, and make your back nice and round, like scaredy cat. So round up, pulling in your core. This can be a nice core workout too if you make it more intense and really pull in from your abs. And then take your back all the way through cow, sway back cow. And head can come up. So you're basically taking your spine from this rounded position to, my hand doesn't really do that, to that sway back cow position. So that's where cat and cow came from. I think camel is like the other, like this could be camel too. And here, and just try to feel the full extremes, because you want your body to go through the full ends of the range of motion, but live somewhere in the middle where neutral is. The last thing I want to show you guys that's really amazing, I'm going to use a stool for lack of a better object here. What works great at home is your couch or an ottoman. So you would want to find something that's the same height, basically, as your thighs or your quads. This is called static back position. Hold on. I'm just gonna try to make this a little bit taller with the kick shield. So like for me at home, my ottoman works great for this. And this is so simple, but it feels so good. So this is gonna be probably a little short for me, but you'll get what I'm after here. So I'm laying with, actually, it kind of works pretty well. I might stay here for the next 15 minutes. So my butt's up against the couch or the ottoman or this homemade stool plus kick shield. And make sure that you're straight in line, meaning that you can look down the middle between your two legs, and your legs are at hip width, so they're not super narrow, they're not super wide. So I'm here, my butt is up against either the couch or the ottoman or the stool or whatever. I'm laying with my palms face up. They're at about a 45-degree angle, and set a timer. We're not on our phone. I want everything just nice and relaxed. Set a timer for at least 5 minutes. This is called static back position, and I can't even explain how great this feels. At the end of the day, if you just take 5 minutes to do this, and you'll feel your back release. Your back might start out a little bit rounded and not flat against the ground. Just lay with it, sit there, resist the urge to pick up your phone and do anything, and just feel that whole back release. So that is called static back position. If you guys have any questions about any of the stuff that I went over, or if you have any other specific requests for next week, let me know. The comments that I see the easiest are the ones on Bas's Facebook page, or my Empowered by Dana Facebook page, or my Instagram. The YouTube comments, I don't see as much of. So leave comments on either my Empowered by Dana Facebook page or Bas's Facebook page if you have any questions about anything. And I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you feel more relaxed, and I hope you have a fantastic day. We will see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. with a brand new workout. Whoop, whoop. Have a great day, you guys. Thanks for watching. Do I hit the recorder, Bas?
Huh?
Do I hit the camera?
Let me see.
Oh, finish. Hit finish.
Switching here. That's a dragon.
Do I hit finish?
Yeah.